Hello viewers, here is an AllAire or some air number 12, so-called vintage oscillating fan. On the motor we have another information tag which says Restoration Hardware. I recognize that brand. I have no idea where or from whom, but I recall hearing about that somewhat recently, and I think I remember it being in the context of something that was more of a high-end brand. 40 watts of power, so it's probably a PSC motor. I guess the model number is just 12. It's measured in millimeters, which is kind of odd for something sold in this country. And the volts are 120, so it definitely was sold for use in this country. On the bottom we have yet another informations. It is a generic electric fan made in China. Oh great, hopefully it still works. China. And there's a warning. We have been warned to not use it with any solid-state speed control device. And there's not any more of a model number on the bottom, so it really is just model number 12. And it appears to be from the 2010. So it's about 12 years old at the time of this taping. Generally, in the past, I haven't been too fond of these style fans because performance-wise, they seem to leave a lot to be desired. A lot of them, this one included, have a very shallow pitch blade, which results in a very high speed performance and a lot of noise for a relatively low output of air. But I got this one because I thought this replica was very interesting because they paid attention to several details that often don't get replicated. If we take a look on the back here, we have a distinct gearbox. We have an exposed oscillation mechanism. The switch, although it doesn't operate like the old clutches did, looks very similar to the old ones. They even went as far as using additional wire to run it along the outside here and kind of make it like the old ones, although it really could have been quite a few inches shorter. It is a 3-prong grounded plug with no fuse, and it's definitely a different wire going to from the motor to the base than it is from the base to the wall. It's a much thicker wire. This wire here is 18 gauge. This is 22 gauge. And I suspect the reason they did that is because the thinner wire will probably withstand more oscillations than a thicker, less flexible wire. Although really the amount of wear that's going on here is probably not much because it's so long. We also have a pretty old style switch down here at the bottom. 3-speed, starts with speed 1. I don't know if that's low or high. And of course the information tag being up on top of the motor like that is something we've seen on quite a few older fans as well. So it was just kind of an interesting piece given the different design factors to it. The blades appear to be a polished chrome finish, and although they are very dusty, I can certainly see that they do have a mirror-like finish to them, which will look pretty cool once it is cleaned up. And this appears to have quite a few hours on it. It is certainly the dusty and will need to be cleaned. It seems like it should be heavier, but it's surprisingly lightweight, which generally is not a good indicator. You can see the camera. What did we say the power was? 40 watts. Okay. let's go ahead and get this thing plugged up. We're testing on 121 volts on the nose. Okay, and we'll start up with the oscillations off on number 1. That's running pretty slow, so I suspect that's low. The bearings are definitely on the stiff side, although they're not locked. The power draw is 35 the watts, so it's definitely not up to speed, unless that is the high, and then it's still not up to speed either way. Nope, that's the medium, which is 36 watts, and that's high, which is 41 watts. It's not really moving in the air because obviously the bearings are very, very stiff, and so it's not able to get up to speed. So we'll just let it oscillate back and forth once to make sure the oscillations work, and then I'll off it because there's no point in running it with stiff bearings. That's not going to do anybody any good. Okay, it looks like the oscillations work just fine. So I'm just going to shut it off. And you can see the spin down is pretty short. So we're going to have to get this serviced before we really use it anymore.